So you guys could imagine I recorded the whole session once and I found that to my surprise my recording hasn't gone. So yeah, I'm doing the whole thing again. I suppose I'm gonna do it better. So, hello everyone, my name is Vahid Hosseini. I'm a composer from Iran. I currently live in Italy. Today I'm going to talk about Persian music solfeggio. A little bit of biography, perhaps. I don't know which. I don't know which camera to look at. Anyway, let's concentrate on the job. So, yes, as I said, I'm a composer. I have started to, let's say, work and study in Europe since 2017, and right from that time, one of my concerns was YouTube. Of course not YouTube, but yes, one of my concerns has been how to make the intervals, which are an integral part of my musical, let's say, language, my musical self, if you like, how to, let's say, communicate these intervals, which you might call microtonal, and they are important to the identity of Persian music system. So this is one of the first tries, actually. It's this piece called Sguardi su Shur, which means overviews on Shur. That's a mode in Persian music, Radif music. So how about we listen for a bit? We are almost here. Let's listen to this little section and perhaps you will understand my problem. So I no longer use this sign for the interval I'm going to talk about today, but and you see that the intonation is not what I had desired, and in this time I still didn't have the right, let's say, rationale of the system I want to propose. I suppose now things are more clear, as I'm going to show you. Yes, a little bit of introduction of Persian music perhaps could help also. Let's see. So, this is part of the introduction I had in Venice on Persian music and microtonality. This is setar, my instrument, and we all know that the divisions of the string since Pythagorean time has been a point of reference in defining intervals. In the medieval treaties, especially the one by Ibn Sina, or Avicenna, as he is known to the West, he defines an interval of 13, let's say, divisions of a string, of an open string, which gives the interval they would call mujannab at that time. These days we call them koron. Some of you might know this particular sign, which is for Persian music. So this koron is really a unique thing you would find also in Arab music or Turkish music. And of course, as a student who's been curious about spectral music and about the harmonics, I got into these things, and one day I just felt with my Persian-oriented ear. Again, I don't know where to look. Anyway, my main, let's say, musical formation has been Persian music, and as a composer, I rely as much as on research as on my ear. So I can say, well, I would say after more than 20 years of experience in Persian music, that what is the koron and what is not koron. Obviously, it is not a quarter tone, so let's get that clear. It is not a quarter tone. There have been many studies, many, let's say, views on how to define Persian, this interval, this particular interval. And obviously there has been no consensus, because there is no exact tuning between the things that different masters of Persian music have played. There are varieties of, let's say, it is a kind of interval which has a, let's say, margin of tolerance. But for me as a composer also, I always ask myself, where does that interval come from? I mean, how do I define? It is very easy to define a fifth, a perfect fifth, which is part of a harmonic, and we would, with a trained ear, we would hear it in every musical string or every musical instrument. But how about our koron thing? About our mujannab interval? What is the mother of this? Well, I was once listening to a simple harmonic scale on Wikipedia, and when it arrived at this zone, I suddenly said, wow, this is shur. This is my dear old shur. Well, it was very close. It sounded a bit weird to my ear, but it was recognizable. It was a shur which I could say that I could recognize, perhaps a bit different, perhaps too young or too old, I don't know. But it was my friend, the one I have grown up with. My intuition was later confirmed by Avicenna or Ibn Sina, the medieval musician, and of course many other things. He was a polymath. That the 13 division of C string would produce an interval that once we put it on the 12th or 3rd harmonic would produce something that is relevant to our ear, let's say. But there is also something else to say. Some other colleagues of mine, and also some older professors of musicology or ethnomusicology and blah 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 have also referred to the harmonic scale. I don't want to claim anything new, but what I haven't seen in those researches was the importance of the drones. I have to say something very important here. If you look at my instrument, setar is it has 4 strings. One of them is for sympathy, this one, but the other 3 are tuned in C, G, and F. In this particular, of course, there are so many different tunings. In the old Radif music, for sure, this is the, let's say, standard tuning. So that's how the Radif starts, let's say. We also have other parts which is, let's say, lower in the hypothetical scale I'm going to talk about later. So as you see, all these drones are always there. They are always there. They are fundamental in defining the mode. And for me, they have a, let's say, vertical, let's say, significance. They are in all other cultures historically, they have been, let's say, the source of let's say, the first, let's say, experiments in harmony and verticality. But
recording in progress.
Yeah. So as I was saying, these drones are important. And the system I am proposing, I'm going to speak about it later in the symposium. I suppose I will have more time to go into technical details. Now I just want to have fun with you and let's sing and do some Persian music stuff. But anyway, I guess what is important here is not only the interval, but its relation to the whole drone system and the harmonics that the drone system produces. So this led to a kind of, let's say, integral system of harmonics of the drones put together, and it's let's say, it turns into, let's say, intonation system, which I have developed, and I'm going to propose it perhaps for the first time actually publicly in the symposium on 29th, which could be a solution also in harmonizing Persian music. There have been so many efforts also, for example, Barkeshli has worked through the equal division systems, but they really don't work. There is no need for equal division in Persian music unless you have a keyboard. Well, we don't still have a keyboard, let's say, instrument. We have Persian piano, which is, let's say, a variation of, let's say, intonation tuning of the piano. But anyway, this instrument really doesn't need to be in, let's say, tuned in equal temperaments. But I suppose, let's say, an integral harmonic temperament tuning would definitely work, or at least give way to, let's say, productive results. Yes, so let's go to this thing. I'm going to show you a very small example of how Persian modes work. Well, in a very rough, let's say, definition, Radif is a series of, let's say, small pieces, 1 minute pieces. You can call them gushe. And these small pieces constitute a, let's say, structure, a compositional structure. Well, I call them modules. And each of these modules also have a function. They have been, let's say, compared to the Persian architecture, let's say the Persian house, which has a courtyard and all these rooms around it. So if you take this courtyard and you call it daramad, which means, let's say, finalis, in the hypothetical mode scale, you have some notes, and you introduce also the whole drone tuning and everything. That's the first thing you hear in the dastgah, which means, let's say, this structure. For example, in shur we have this as the finalis or daramad, which means, let's say, the beginning of things. So notes, things go around this. Usually they work in tetrachord or group of 4 or 5 notes. I call them, as Schoenberg does in his treatise of harmony, I call them modal regions, modal zones. And I think zoning is a good idea, because we are in this zone, which means that it is, let's say, it defines a kind of region. We don't have to think about it in terms of scale, as in going up and down, up and down. Of course, we're only talking about Radif music. We're not talking about all the compositions of Persian music, which is vast. So let's say this region of 4 notes, or if you add the F preceding to the G, we have this zone, which is the daramad zone. If we move on to this zone, we will have the Oj zone, or let's say repercussio. This is the repercussio note, and it changes. I will give you a short example just to listen. So we are in here, G, this is the daramad, and then C as the Oj, or the climax, or repercussio, which is a good word for it, I guess. See, it's a repercussive thing also in, like in Gregorian chant. Etc., etc. So that's how that's how the modal system works. Also, there are rules on these modules. Each of them has a role. Some of them have modal roles. Some of them have rhythmical patterns. Some of them. It's perhaps, if you like, you can search more about Radif and the construction of its thing. But for now, we're going to focus more on a method for the solfeggio of Radif. So we have in the past, let's say 20 years, there have been suggestions on let's say reducing the modal structures into tetrachords, or as I call them, modal regions. But these 4 modules can be used to build different scales which can be used in different parts of Radif. Let's say, for example, let's just take a quick look. This is a major tetrachord. Of course, we're not talking about the intonational variations here. I would advise for now just intonation, where I will later talk about the nuances perhaps in the next talk. But here you can see module A, module B, module C, which I'm going to talk about today, and module D. Each of them, this is the Koron sign, or the let's say it's a very special sign to Persian music, and it's this interval. Sol, la, sol, la, sol, la, sol, la, si, la, sol. It's not a quarter tone. It's at its best 3/5. So I, together with Avesina, would define this as the 13/12, 13/12 in the just intonation system. So it would be 39 plus 50, so it's 89 over the 12th harmonic. So this module, let's call it Shur module. This module is something that you find in the harmonic scale. Well, to my delight, I found that there is this thing called super just. My time is almost finishing. Yes, so something that is called super just temperament. It's apparently by Wendy Carlos, in which he uses 13th and 7th or 14th and also 15th harmonic together with 11th, which many people like to call as one of the references. I don't agree. For sure, I think 11 is irrelevant because it doesn't correspond to the drone system. Anyway, so if we hear like so this is the C module or the Shur module we saw. Let's bring it. This module. Sol, La Koron, Si bemol, Do. We take this module. If we take this module a fourth higher, so let's say Sol, La, Si, Do, and this Do, or let's say Si in the English system, we build another module as this one. We would have this. So Sol, La, Si, Do, the same module. I'm going over time now. I would suggest a kind of exercise which is based on the finalis and repercussio notes. So on G, Sol, La, Sol, Fa, Sol, La, Sol, Si, La, Sol, Fa, Sol, La, Si, La, Sol, Do, Si, La, Sol, Fa, Sol. And then we move to the repercussio. Do, re, do, si, do, re, mi, re, do, fa, mi, re, do, si, do, re, do. So I suppose after the recording we would have some time to put these into use. I think this system would also allow a lot of harmonic possibilities, since we're dealing with harmonics. So I personally, one short experiment I had with the guys in the composition department in Sibelius Academy, Helsinki, was I just put them into a group of choir and we started harmonic singing. And when I asked the sopranos to sing this 13th harmonic, and then others were singing like the 5th or the 3rd, the effect was so beautiful that it made me think, well, in Persian music, almost everything has been based on individual expression. So we have soloists and a lot of ornamentation, or the singer who says yo, a lot of ornamentation. So of course it gives ways to a lot of variations in intonation and everything. But it showed me that once you go into a mass expression like in choir, then you would have to follow the rules of nature. Well, for now we can rely on harmonic scale as rule of nature, whatever it is. Of course, I don't agree, as I don't take it as an absolute reference, because, well, inharmonicity or disharmonicity, as Salvatore Sciarrino calls it, is a part of nature and a part of the nature of instruments and everything, and a lot of measurement and study recalls for that. But for now, let's say as a rule of thumb, 13th harmonic over 12, and then a tetrachord made of 13, 14 or 7 and 16 or 2 or 1 or whatever, makes our tetrachord that we need for singing Shur. So thank you for this time you gave me, and we will see each other soon, I hope, I suppose, and we can also try singing a bit. See you. Bye.